You're about to witness two things. First, this is the very first test drive in this truck. Secondly, some severe tire distortion. The truck's been sitting on a shelf for almost 8 years, and these foams can only take so much. If you're not aware, RC tires have foam inside instead of air, and that's what kind of simulates inflation. I started laughing when I was driving this because it kind of looks like something a Shriner would drive in a parade. It's about to be remedied though. This is only a test. As you can see from the opening portion of the video, this thing is now drivable. It's got some scaled dirt on the tires, courtesy of the shop floors. And we're back at the rear of the truck. This is where we left off last time. I've got my new updated bumper bolted on. It's got much larger channels inside to house all the wiring for the LEDs. And you can see I've got the LEDs on. I've got my marker lights, my brake lights, and there's bulbs in there for reverse lights as well. Now, I mentioned last time I'd be building my own lenses, and this is one of the samples. This is one of my test victims. This is a trick that Headquake uses, and it's polycarbonate trimmed to size. It's a pressure fit, and then you scribe it with a hobby knife inside, and that gives you all those nice little lines and indents. And I did that on the reverse section only. I wanted these two sections of the lenses to be clear. I kind of think it gives it a nice modern look. I kind of like it. They've also been tinted. Not only are these colored LEDs, I've also used Tamiya clear acrylics, X26 and 27. That's clear red and clear orange. And that gives me those nice jewel tones for the taillights. Also, kind of cool, I've got my carriers magnetized. They now pop into place. I've got the plate holder on here. I still have to build the license plate. Add a few scale details, a couple paint touch-ups, but it's pretty close to being wrapped up in the back. While there may not seem to be a lot of visual changes to the midsection of the truck, I did want to mention one thing while I'm here. If you remember in early videos, my original intent was to take all the electronics, hide it within the chassis, and have no indication of this being radio controlled. Well, I did not too bad up front and in the back. In the midsection, I had to make a few tough decisions, primarily for ease of use. So my time's far better spent in places that'll be noticed, like the engine compartment up here. Now, I've suffered yet another mechanical injury this month, so bench time hasn't been an option, not even a little bit. I did luck out, however. In months previous, I'd been blasting away at 3D designs, printing them, stockpiling them, even batch painting them. So they've been kind of laying in wait until I could get to the engine compartment. So this kind of came together really easy. It was kind of fun. It was like doing a model kit. I'll show you some of the details. So to start off, my battery is in its final resting place. If you remember, it hides the on and off switch for our onboard ESC. So that's kind of cool. You flip the hood open, access this area to activate the physical battery. Thought it was kind of cool anyways. It's got some scale hardware on it, a little bit of styrene, some small gauge wire to help make it look a bit more realistic. The ARB-ish onboard air compressor is made from some old parts laying around. The base is actually a heatsink from a motherboard. I've got some old Tamiya plastic here, a couple of aluminum bits, some thicker gauge electrical wire, and up top sits a core from a valve stem. The air box is made from styrene and polycarbonate. The polycarbonate portion is just for the access panel if you ever need to change the filter. One of the trickier pieces this round is the air intake tube, and that's because of the complex curves in it. I'm not great at those, so I handled this the same way that I did the exhaust and the exhaust manifolds. So I printed out a series of bends and tubes. These are about 10 millimeters, and once I was able to find the right shape, I glued them, prepped them, and primed them, and now it's ready for paint. A bunch of stuff actually underneath here still needs paint on it. I like to dry fit things, make sure it works before I do the final paint job on it. The transmission cooler has been trimmed down slightly on the edges just to give me some more room for the light buckets once the body slides in, and I built a rad cap finally out of some aluminum and some styrene. Over here we've got a brand new alternator, power steering pump, plus the plate that houses all the pulleys and accessories for the serpentine belt system. I've also found a home for all those brass pulleys I've been hoarding all those years. And lastly, I've added a black elastic so I have a rubber serpentine belt. Of course, this runs down and powers the power steering pump and runs a good portion of our hydro boost system for our brakes. This little guy is comprised of about 8 different components that both bolt and glue together and is my best crack at a Wilwood hydro boost system at about 9th scale that doesn't work at all. What can I say? It's plumb though. It has brake lines, and that's just this aluminum line that I use underneath the truck for the chassis. It's all been straightened and then bent into shape. All attaches here at the master cylinder. You can see I've added some hex stock here to make these look like fittings. I've got some brass fittings here that all the rubber lines hook up to. All of this runs into our hydro boost system, which runs off the power steering. This reservoir actually started out life as a 1/8 scale shock bypass valve. Now, I salvaged a bunch of parts from this. Not only did it give me this half, it also gave me these brass fittings, the rubber lines that go with them, and enough tube to actually do both lengths. But when I sawed this in half and did the ultimate magic trick, inside was this nice little piece of aluminum back here. So it just goes to prove if you save crap long enough, eventually it'll find a home. Not sure if you can see it, but tucked down here into the fender well is an aluminum heatsink. That's going to be the base for our fake onboard computer. I have a washer fluid reservoir and a catch can. Both of those have to be plumbed and detailed. Plug wires are on both sides, but the coil packs aren't wired into the harness yet, nor is the alternator. And I'll take care of all those little details once I do the final paint and detailing underneath the hood. Right now I'm excited to get the body slid on and show you what's new with the front clip. As you can see, when I slide the body down into place, it's a really tight fit, and it's taken ages to actually figure out how to make this slide together without things scratching, to make sure they still match up, to make sure all the electronics fit inside underneath the seats, and so on. So it's taken quite a bit of time to do this, but you can see that it's starting to look like an engine bay now. So as I drop this hood down into place, you'll notice there's a few mini magnets recessed into the corners. They're received by these little 2.5 mil bolts. Not only do these help keep the panel gaps true, but they work as the only working hood latch in the truck. Pretty confident that if you watch this series on the regular, you'll notice a boatload of things have been added that I haven't covered today. In the next video, I'll cover the things we missed and hopefully have a bunch more things to show you as I bring this project to a close. For now, stay cool, stay creative. Thanks for watching.